Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also join the Discord that is linked down in the description. Also check out my website that is also linked down in the description. But in today's video, I will be talking about 2020 versus 2016. Is Joe Biden's lead in the polls bigger than what Hillary Clinton's was in 2016. Now, one of the big things that everybody talked about after the 2016 election was the polls being off. But did Hillary Clinton even have that big of a poll lead in the first place? Well, in some states she did, in some states she didn't. But I'm going to be comparing the 2020 results to the 2016 results. Does Joe Biden have a bigger lead right now? Is he in a more comfortable position than Hillary Clinton? And I'm going to be analyzing it. So first, looking at the RCP national average. This is the national averages and then the national polls. Currently, September 6th, Joe Biden is up by 6.9 percentage points. September 6th, 2016, Hillary Clinton was up 2.4 percentage points. Now, this is a little misleading due to the fact that in 2016, Election Day was on November 8th. In 2020, Election Day is on November 3rd. So you kind of have to go further along from September 6th in 2016 to get to actually the same amount of days before the election. But it, proves the point nonetheless. The point is that with the national polls, Joe Biden is ahead by more than what Hillary Clinton was ahead by. If you want to go back to March and April, Hillary Clinton was ahead at that time by more than what Joe Biden was ahead at that time. But then Joe Biden got a pretty strong lead ahead of what Hillary Clinton was up by. And now he is still at this point up 4.5% more than what Hillary Clinton was up by. Another thing I'll be looking at is the favorability ratings. Now, 2016, what was also noted for was the fact that the two candidates were historically unpopular. And Joe Biden is by no means that popular of a candidate, but he is more popular than what Hillary Clinton was compared to Donald Trump. Now, Hillary Clinton did have an advantage over Donald Trump in favorability. At this point, it was 7.7%. But Joe Biden's favorability advantage is now at 15.3%. Joe Biden's actually above water in actually some polls, getting above 50% favorability. So he actually is ahead by quite a bit in terms of his favorability over Donald Trump. So that's another thing that does look quite good for Joe Biden as well. Another thing comparing to 2016 is the top battlegrounds map. Now, I do find this a little misleading because it's combining a bunch of states, so you're not seeing the individual states. But Joe Biden is doing marginally better than what Hillary Clinton was doing in these states, but I wouldn't necessarily look at this too much. But looking at another thing here, we'll look at the 2016 RCP electoral map. You can just click on any one of these states, look at the polls, versus the 2020 map. Now, the 2020 map has 212 electoral votes, not including tosses for Joe Biden, 115 for Trump, and then in 2016, it was 203 for Hillary Clinton and 164 for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was doing a lot better last time, mainly because he's lost Texas this time. He's lost Missouri this time for some reason, and he's even got like South Carolina at a lead margin. But Joe Biden has gained Virginia into his column rather than being a toss-up now. But looking at some of these individual swing states, the very important swing states, Wisconsin is the first one, which in the RCP average had Clinton winning by 6.5 percentage points. Obviously the polls were quite off there. But now if we look at 2020, the polls in Wisconsin show that Joe Biden is currently ahead by 4.4 percentage points. But one thing I do want to note about the fact that Joe Biden does have this robust polling lead is that Hillary Clinton was ahead by 6.5 percentage points, but she only had 46.8% of the vote. If we look at 2020, Joe Biden has a 4.4% lead, but he has 48.8% of the vote. So what does that mean? It means he has 2% more, despite the fact that he's leading by 2% less. And what that means is that there's less undecided voters, which means that there's less room to gain for Donald Trump. Now, this is going to be a problem for Donald Trump because in Donald Trump, he had not only the undecided voters to gain, but these third-party voters that are always overestimated in polls. Now, I don't think this is going to be very crucial, and this is even including polls like Trafalgar, which actually did get 2016 right in many of these states. But it is important to note, that Joe Biden may have the same or even a less polling lead than Hillary Clinton in many of these states, but he does have more percent of the vote, and it's going to be harder for Donald Trump to gain on Hillary Clinton in these states. Now, looking at another state here is the state of Michigan. Now, the state of Michigan is quite an interesting state. If you look at this time, we see Donald Trump is ahead by 2.6 percentage points, or Joe Biden is ahead by 2.6 percentage points. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton was again up by 3.4 percentage points. What we're seeing again is that in 2016, Hillary had 45.4% of the vote, ahead by 3.4%. Joe Biden is at 47.3%, with only ahead by 2.6%. So we can see that Joe Biden is 47.3, Hillary Clinton 45.4. So Joe Biden has 1.9% more of the vote than what Hillary Clinton had, yet he's up by 0.8% less. So you're seeing the same trend here that you saw in Wisconsin, which is that, there's less undecided voters, there's less third-party voters, meaning it's going to be harder for Donald Trump to gain on Joe Biden. And we can keep going with these examples. These examples continue not just to the Rust Belt. I mean, we can also look at the state of Pennsylvania. If we do look at the state of Pennsylvania this time, we can see here that Joe Biden is currently, he has a lead of 4.2 percentage points, which is a pretty strong lead. If we look at 2016, it is stronger than Hillary Clinton's lead of 1.9 percentage points at the time. This was right before the election. And, if we want to go back to what it was, back in August, sure, Hillary Clinton's lead, September, Hillary Clinton's lead was larger than Joe Biden's, but it ended up tightening. And the reason that it tightened was because of the fact that there were so many undecided voters. If we look at where it is now, Biden plus 4.2 on September 6th. So if we go to around September 12th, in 2016, Hillary Clinton was up by 6 percentage points. But again, she was at 45.6% of the vote. Joe Biden's currently at 49% of the vote. So Joe Biden is even getting close to 50% in some of these states. So the gist of this is Hillary Clinton had, a bigger lead in a lot of these states than Joe Biden has right now. But what Hillary Clinton didn't have is, pretty robust and strong support that was unwavering. Now, Joe Biden has had, this is Florida, for example. Joe Biden's had a lead in Florida for quite a while now, and he's been doing quite well there. But if we look at 2016, 2016, Hillary Clinton was leading in Florida, but Donald Trump ended up taking the lead in the polls in Florida. And that was because of the fact that there was room to gain for Donald Trump due to these undecided voters and third-party voters. We can see that most polls end up overestimating third parties, Florida to a lesser extent. But if we want to go back to September, around this time, Donald Trump was actually ahead in the state of Florida compared to what Joe Biden is ahead by right now. Donald Trump was leading in those polls right now. Currently, Joe Biden is ahead by 1.8, which is not the biggest lead. And sure, in 2018, the polls overestimated Democrats. But in 2016, the polls were actually quite accurate. And so we'll keep analyzing this because you have to look, you can't just necessarily look at the margin of victory because that's how you're going to end up getting these polls wrong. Because in 2016, the polls were wrong because, Hillary Clinton had this strong, robust lead, but there was so much room for Trump to gain with undecided voters. And if you look at the state where the polls were most off, which is Wisconsin, the undecided voters broke to Trump more in Wisconsin than any other state. And this is evident in, the exit polls. It's evident in what people were saying from the polls themselves. And if you want to go, this is, the most notable one to where Joe Biden has a larger lead than what Hillary Clinton had. In Arizona, the RCP average had Trump up by 4%. If we go back to September, Donald Trump was still up by 2.2 percentage points. But if we go to this time, Joe Biden's up by 5 percentage points. And recently we just saw that Donald Trump has actually taken ad money out of the state. So that's not going to bode well for him either. So this is a problem for Donald Trump due to the fact that, sure, he is, within striking distance, even within the margin of error of some of these states. But how much room does he really have to gain? If we've looked at the polls, you can see that 95% of people or something said that they've made up their mind and they won't change their vote. And there's only around 3% undecided voters in a lot of these polls. What room is there for Trump to gain? And, I'm not ruling Trump out in any sense of the word. Comparing Trump's to Joe Biden's lead to Hillary Clinton's lead was actually stronger in many of these states. But I just believe Joe Biden's is more consistent. I do believe it is more sustainable. And I do believe he has a clearer pathway to victory than in retrospect what Hillary Clinton had. So that is just analyzing the comparative lead between Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. I may analyze this further as we get further into the race, as the race in 2016 started to tighten. Will it tighten in this race? We don't know yet. But thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, join the Discord that is linked down in the description. Also, check out my website that is also linked down in the description. And again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.